I'm about to tell you is something most people on SSI or SSDI have not heard yet, and if you blink, you could miss it. Today, and I mean today, the Social Security Administration quietly activated a new internal rule tied to SSI and SSDI. It did not come with a big press conference. There was no alert on your phone, no letter in the mail, but inside SSA systems, something shifted. And for some people watching right now, this change could mean the difference between being stuck and seeing your payment situation finally move forward, possibly by as much as $2,000. Now, before you get too excited, I need you to stay with me, because this is not a lottery win. This is not a random bonus, and this is definitely not a scam. This is a rule change, a real one, activated quietly and tied directly to how SSI and SSDI payments are reviewed, counted, and in some cases restored. If you rely on SSI, if you're on SSDI, if you've ever been told you were just barely over a limit, or if you lost benefits in the past and never fully understood why, this matters to you. For years, people have been trapped by outdated rules that punished saving, rules that penalized help from family, rules that made it feel like one small mistake could cost you everything. And today, something about that system changed. Not tomorrow, not next year, today. Now here's the part that should really get your attention. The number you've heard floating around, $2,000, that number is not random. It's tied to an old SSI rule that has controlled who qualifies, who gets cut off, and who gets pushed aside. And when SSA touches that number, even indirectly, it sends shockwaves through the entire benefits system. But here's the truth, not everyone will benefit the same way. Some people may see immediate movement, others may see changes during upcoming reviews, and some may not see anything at all. That's why you need to understand what just happened, not the headlines, not the rumors, but the real mechanics behind it. Because once you see how this rule works, you'll understand why SSA moved quietly, why they didn't announce it loudly, and why timing matters more than ever right now. Now, to understand why this moment is so important, you need to know what the old rule was really doing to people like you. To understand why today's change matters so much, you have to understand the rule that's been holding people back for decades. For years, SSI operated under one of the strictest financial limits in the entire federal system. If you were an individual, you were not allowed to have more than $2,000 in countable assets. If you were a couple, that limit was just $3,000, not per month, not per year, total. That meant your checking account, your savings, cash on hand, even certain forms of help from family. Go $1 over that limit, and SSA could reduce your payment, suspend it, or cut you off entirely. And here's what made it worse. That $2,000 limit hasn't meaningfully changed since the late 1980s. Think about that. Rent has gone up, food has gone up, utilities have gone up, but that limit stayed frozen in time. So people learned to live scared. Scared to save, scared to accept help, scared to keep money in their account too long. Many of you watching right now know that feeling. Now officially, SSA never announced a full repeal of that rule, and that's important to say clearly. The limit still exists on paper. But here's where today's change comes in. SSA quietly updated how certain assets and transactions are reviewed during eligibility checks and payment calculations. This wasn't done through a public press release. It came through internal guidance, system updates, and recalculation procedures that frontline SSA workers use every day. In plain language, that means some money that used to count against you doesn't get flagged the same way anymore. Certain one-time deposits, certain back payments, certain temporary balances that used to trigger an automatic problem. Now, before you jump to conclusions, listen carefully. This does not mean everyone can suddenly hold unlimited money. It does not mean the $2,000 limit vanished overnight, but it does mean SSA is no longer treating every dollar the same way they used to. And that shift matters, because SSI and SSDI are closely connected behind the scenes, even though they follow different rules on the surface. When SSA changes how reviews and recalculations are handled for one program, it often affects the timing and outcome of the other. That's why SSDI recipients are hearing about this too, especially those who receive SSI supplements, those who moved between programs, and those who had payments paused, reduced, or flagged in the past. Here's another critical point. SSA systems are heavily automated. Once a rule change is activated, it doesn't wait for public explanations. It starts working in the background first. Cases get rescored, flags get removed or adjusted, payment calculations get rerun. Most people don't realize anything is happening until they check their account or receive a notice weeks later. And this is exactly why timing matters right now, because if your case is reviewed during this window, after the new guidance but before full public rollout, the outcome may be different than it would have been just weeks ago. But here's where things split. Some people will see changes quickly, others will only see movement during their next scheduled review, and some people won't qualify at all under the updated approach. So the big question becomes, who actually benefits from this change? Because this is not a one-size-fits-all update. And that's where things get really interesting. This is the point where everything becomes personal. Because whether this new SSA rule helps you or not depends on how your situation fits into a few very specific categories. And this is where a lot of confusion online is coming from. Some people are hearing $2,000 and assuming it means a check is about to land in their account. Others think this is only for brand new applicants, and some are being told it doesn't apply to SSDI at all. The truth sits somewhere in the middle. The people most likely to see a change first are those who were previously flagged, paused, or reduced because of assets or account balances, especially short-term balances. If you ever had your SSI payment lowered because money sat in your account too long, this matters. If you received a one-time deposit and SSA treated it like ongoing income, this matters. If your eligibility was questioned during a review, even though the money was temporary, this matters. Now, let's talk about how payments could actually jump. In many cases, the increase does not come as a brand new bonus. It comes through recalculation. When SSA reviews a case under the updated guidance, they may determine that a past reduction should not have happened the way it did. That can lead to restored payments, adjusted monthly amounts, or in some cases, owed benefits being recognized. That's where the $2,000 number enters the conversation. For some recipients, especially those who lost multiple months of full SSI due to asset issues, the total adjustment can approach that amount. Not always at once, not always labelled clearly, but spread across corrections, restored eligibility, or backdated recalculations. This is also where SSDI comes in. If you receive SSDI and also qualify for SSI supplements, your case is often reviewed together. When SSI calculations change, the overall household benefit picture can change too. That's why some SSDI recipients may see movement, even though SSDI itself does not have an asset limit. Now here's the part you need to hear clearly. This does not apply to everyone. If you were never flagged, if your assets were always below the limit, if your payments were never reduced or paused, you may not see any change at all, and that doesn't mean anything went wrong. This update is corrective, not universal. Another important detail is timing. SSA does not flip a switch and update millions of accounts overnight. They process changes in waves. Some updates happen during scheduled redeterminations. Others happen when cases are manually reviewed, and some are triggered automatically by system checks. That's why two people with similar situations can see very different timelines. One might notice a change this month. Another might not see anything until later in the year. And this is why today only matters. The activation date matters because it determines which rule set your case is reviewed under. Cases reviewed before the change follow the old approach. Cases reviewed after it follow the new one. That single detail can affect outcomes in a big way. But before you make any moves, before you spend money, shift accounts, or assume something is coming, there is one more thing you absolutely need to understand. And getting this wrong could hurt your benefits instead of helping them. Before you do anything, and I mean anything, take a breath. Because the biggest mistake people make during moments like this is reacting too fast. This change does not mean you should move money around. It does not mean you should suddenly test limits. And it does not mean you should assume SSA will overlook everything going forward. What it does mean is that SSA is adjusting how it reviews and interprets certain situations. So the smartest move right now is not action, it's awareness. If you're due for a redetermination, pay close attention to your notices. If you've had issues in the past with balances, reductions, or suspensions, keep your records organized. And if you see a change in your payment amount, don't panic and don't celebrate too early. Make sure you understand why it happened. This update is not designed to take benefits away. It's meant to correct how certain cases were handled before, and that matters. Because for too long, people were punished for small, temporary financial situations. Money that passed through their account, help they needed just to survive. SSA knows this system hasn't kept up with reality. And while change is slow, direction matters. What you're seeing right now is movement, quiet movement, careful movement, but movement nonetheless. Now here's my advice to you. Stay informed, don't rely on rumors, and don't let fear drive your decisions. SSA updates rarely happen with fireworks. They happen in the background first, and understanding them early puts you ahead. That's why I'm here, breaking this down in plain language so you don't have to guess. If this kind of update matters to you, make sure you're subscribed, because these changes don't stop here. New reviews, new guidance, new adjustments, and I'll be here to explain what it means for you. Clearly, calmly, and honestly. Stay informed, stay patient. And remember, you're not alone in this system.